Hey everybody, it's your Uncle Bear. So let's talk about kids for a second. More importantly, how they're being raised today and how society is actually raising them. Right now, there is an act in the House of Representatives in Washington called the Promoting Childhood uh, Independence and Resilience Act. And basically, what this is, there are actually areas in this country, whether it be city, state, county, where it's illegal for people to let their kids be unattended at all outside the house. They'll actually charge the parents, which I there's a, to me, it's kind of like discipline. There's a line between discipline and abuse. Same with negligence. There's or what do you call that? It escapes me. But yeah, completely ignoring your kids. There's a line between ignoring them and allowing them to be kids. My wife is a retired communications officer, basically a police dispatcher and 911 operator. And she would get calls, that, and she had to send an officer. It was her job to have an officer go see what's going on. But people would call and say, yeah, there's a kid about 10 years old riding his bicycle up and down the street, and there's no parent supervising. There's no parent to be seen, and it's like, yeah, sorry, when I was 10, I was, granted, I get it, in some areas, Chicago, New York City, there's some areas where, yeah, you probably don't want to leave your kid alone too long, but on the same token, if you're going to raise them in New York City or Chicago, you should allow them the opportunity to learn some street smarts and figure out how to navigate that city. I grew up in a town of it was like 25,000 people, but I was all over town on my bicycle. Going to swimming lessons, going to baseball practice, everything. And I think you have to let kids do that, especially during the summertime. Like I say, I was all over the place. That was my mode of transportation. I was the youngest of 5 kids. So anyway, I think that it's crazy that Congress has to have an act for this topic, but it's no crazier than an act, for truck drivers for shippers and receivers to actually have a bathroom for truck drivers that come to their facility. You shouldn't have to have a congressional act, but I guess that's the society we live in. People just don't have common sense on certain things. But anyway, like I say, I would never want to put a child in danger. But so like I say, the larger cities, yeah, maybe don't leave them unsupervised for a long time. Don't let them have free reign of the 5 boroughs. But on the same token, if they're gonna grow up there, you gotta give them the freedom to grow up there. So, have a great day, everybody. Be safe.